you were saying.
Okay, so
And what thumb drive do you have in?
this is Mime Video. This is the one that we looked at a lot last time.
Okay.
But there's some stuff that I didn't really show. I mean, didn't talk about so much. This is a
Could you angle it a little more towards me? Okay.
yeah. This is a section called Truck Dog and Other Works, and this was a compilation. I think this was performed. This particular show was performed in Santa Barbara in the late '80s, maybe early '90s. So you would say I was in the middle stages of my career. I don't know. I've had a 56-year career. So I had been, by this time I had been doing it, let's say, 20 years. So this is a compilation of pure mime, clown mime, I'll call it mime dance, and creativity. So my palette of work was very broad, and that was really good, and it was also challenging because people couldn't pigeonhole me. You couldn't market me very easily. I couldn't market myself very easily. I went through many phases of what do I call myself for the public. So when you start back in the 70s, you're a mime. And as I mentioned before, mime was more popular. Wasn't a joke back in the 70s and early 80s. It was kind of the golden years where people were really fascinated by the art form. But then at some point, people started coining the phrase new vaudevillian, which hearkened to a broader visibility of the work. In other words, you would say that a combination of Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, who were some other people, Jackie Gleason, Red Skelton, who are big showbiz people. But if you put all that together, you have a kind of modern vaudeville in the late 20th century. And there was less white faces and more bowler hats and suits, and people talked. So you were approaching comedy or physical, the sense of the classic clown. That's a whole other description. But, so this phrase, the new vaudeville, came out, because at that point, artists like Bill Irwin, who actually I taught when he was a young guy in the Ringling Brothers Circus, he was my student, but he had a Broadway show for a couple of times with physical comedy and classic clown. So this phrase, new vaudeville, was coined to make our work more accessible and more available to a general public. And then I was a mime dancer at one point, which means that I took the mime art but made it more physical than the normal mime, like actually infusing modern elements of modern dance and so forth. Because I had modern dance training and I also had athletic training, so my approach to space was much more aggressive than a lot of mimes in terms of space and time. So you call yourself a new vaudevillian, then a mime clown. And then at one point I called myself an actor who moves, okay, to distinguish from the normal actor who recites lines and is not quite as physical. And then you became the clown. And of course, the word clown, the term clown, became a dirty word, like wasn't taken seriously like the word mime. And you know, the word mime was a butt of jokes, especially in North America, and the word clown had a certain connotation.
What would you say it was?
What
The connotation of clown?
It was a frivolous, simple, gaudy entertainment that was slapstick, and there was no thought behind it, really. And the mime was the guy stuck in the box, you know, with the white face that harassed you on the street in big cities, where I always approached my art from a theater standpoint. In other words, I always felt I was a theater artist in a theater, controlling an environment with thematic and physical techniques which were very sophisticated. It was theater. It was not a sideshow it wasn't a carnival or it wasn't street performing. It was a theater work, a craft of theater.
Could you just say the sentence, the way some people saw clowns was, the way some people saw clowns was, and then, so I know that if I use that soundbite, it won't be, that wasn't your opinion, that's how people saw it.
Yeah, clowns became, the birthday clown. The clown became the person with the balloon, blowing up the balloon animals, and appeared at birthday parties, and was not a serious performer.
Well, when were they serious performers?
Well, throughout the history of performing arts, the clown, all you have to do is look at Shakespeare's work. There's a clown figure in almost every Shakespeare play. Almost every one. There's a persona that embodies the human being. And if you go that far afield, then you're also entitled to play all dimensions of the human emotion. In other words, my belief was always that the clown was not just to make people laugh, but was a protector or a translator of cultural and social forces in the contemporary world. And so the contemporary world could be in 1500 or it can be 2026. Whatever was happening in the world, the clown was able to interpret. I would say in modern times now, the stand-up comic is the contemporary clown. Or someone like Jim Carrey, who doesn't really act anymore in films, he was a clown. So this is a character that, through exaggeration and introspection and metaphor, creates a sense about the human existence through eccentric behavior. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, was some of it, like with Kings and all, a way to have social satire without getting in trouble?
Absolutely. Like the fool, the classic fool, the court jester, was able to make jokes about the king and not have his head taken off. Unless he was screwing the queen or something like that, which could have happened and probably did. But it was a way for a performer to safely make social commentary without being put in jail or beheaded. So that role of the clown has persevered throughout history. Every culture today has a clown figure. It has someone that is able to have the liberty to speak. Our contemporary clowns are people like Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and Letterman. These people are clowns, so that in the sense of the foundation. So my work embodied the clown and the mime and the actor and the dancer, and I put it all into one thing. So it was very difficult to be seen in a culture that is based in labels and promotion and packaging. That's what our capitalist system does. So if you weren't, all you have to do is go to the cereal section in a grocery store, in a big box, big chain grocery store. You look down the aisle of the cereal section, and it's full of colors and slogans. And all the packaging is very, very, almost like a circus or carnival. So Americans thrive on labeling, and the advertising business that we all know is based on metaphor and labels and so forth. I could go on and talk a long time about that. So it's difficult for the artist to avoid being pigeonholed or to be placed in a sphere where people make assumptions about what they're going to do. So when I was young, let's say the 60s and we'd just come out of the 50s, which was more conservative, but the 60s were a unchained decade in so many ways, where you were allowed to explore as a young person if you have the courage. And that foundation entered me, and I was one who I was always interested, as I said before, interested in what was happening around me. It wasn't just a stupid actor or a dumb athlete. You were a thinking person, and the art was a way to communicate about issues as well as entertain. The entertainment was not the sole, point of focus for the clown. So I would get in trouble sometimes because I remember one international clown theater festival I did back in Philadelphia, and my mentor was there. One of the people who I respected growing up as an artist was Dimitri, a very famous clown from Switzerland, and he and his wife had set tours up for me in the 70s. And I had created a piece called Truck Dog, which was a storyteller and a clown figure who was a ragged dog in the back of a pickup. So the dog was the spokes animal, the mouthpiece for feelings. So the piece was not always funny. So I remember I went to this festival, and I remember Dimitri said to me, "James, what are you doing?" And so he was coming from this particular, which I feel is somewhat narrow, I have no issue with it, but this sort of narrow corridor of what the clown should be. And my concept has always been to branch out, to open the doors in the hallway and look into the other rooms, or go out into the backyard or the front yard, or go into the basement or the attic. And that's difficult to do as an artist in the United States. We all know that artists get trapped in their work very often, especially musicians very often. They have, like bands, they have to play the same music. People want the same song. The actor has to do the same kind of role. And your sense of freedom is limited by the commercialism or the need that a society has for an artist. And that's hard for an artist. That was long-winded.
That was good.
Yeah.
So what are you going to show me now?
This is a performance called Truck Dog and Other Works, where I take my interest in clown, physical comedy, movement, bordering on modern dance. I never would say I was a dancer because it's hard for me to follow steps, but just in terms of spatial exploration physically, and theater, meaning acting and the crafting of stories or narratives. So you put all that together and you had Truck Dog and Other Works. And the reason the title Truck Dog is in there is I had a piece called Truck Dog where I was this dog in the back of a pickup who roamed through the Rocky Mountains in the western United States making comments. When I say roamed, the dog was not allowed to get out of the back of the pickup by the driver. He was never allowed in the cab, so he was a free feeling being in the air and the elements. And I did that piece in Spanish language. I did it in Mexico. I did it in Europe. I had some interesting feedback from there. It's basically about the western United States where I grew up and the sense of the horizon. And I have many stories about how that piece was accepted in different cultures.
What were some of the comments that Truck Dog?
Well, for example, it was very popular in the Rocky Mountains in the Pacific Northwest, particularly Montana, which you wouldn't call the Pacific Northwest, but the upper, let's say the Rocky Mountain region. Yeah. And because the piece was originally co-written by a colleague of mine, Charlie Oates, who had spent a lot of his time in Montana and Idaho. And I used to tour a lot in those states, Idaho, Montana, Eastern Washington, Oregon. And then, pardon me?
What was the comment being made? Why was it popular?
Well, it was very popular because it really got at the truths of living in those areas. But if you go to a place like Ireland, let's say, which is based on the sense of space is different. First of all, you don't have the big sky country like you would in Montana. You have pubs, you have bad weather, rainy weather. You learn how to articulate vocally because you go to the pub all the time over some Guinness. It's cold outside and wet, so you stay indoors a lot. It's not like living in Southern California. So I remember doing a performance. I had a tour in Ireland, and I was doing Truck Dog. Would be in the, I'd say, early 90s, I think this happened. And I mean, I went to the pub afterwards, and some of the audience were there, and there was a lawyer, like an intelligent person who had seen the show. Not to say that all lawyers are intelligent, but he was somebody who was educated. He said, "I don't get it. I don't understand what's so great about it, in the back of a pickup." So obviously he'd never ridden in the back, ridden in the free air, never been on a motorcycle maybe. But growing up in Southern California with farming families, you knew what it was like to ride in the back of a pickup and feel the smells and the liberty and the freedom involved in that. And this person could not relate with the sense of liberty and what am I trying to? I'm looking for the word of self-determination. I feel the West has always been the dream for humans. The Western United States is a place to live your dreams. It's
the freedom more in a truck than in Ireland? Or?
What's that?
Was it the freedom more that the Truck Dog was experiencing?
Well, he couldn't relate with. Well, first of all, they don't have pickups in Ireland either. Okay, they didn't at that time. So just the whole thing was very alien to this person.
But in terms of some of the comments Truck Dog was making, was about the open space.
Open spaces, individuality, ruggedness, perseverance, some vices. Like this particular dog is enamored with speed, not the drug, but the velocity. And the dog actually gets blown off the back of the truck in one of his moments of it'd be like somebody on a motorcycle going too fast and standing on the seat, and putting your hands out. And the second half of the piece was about dog heaven, where the dog is drinking his Budweiser out of his cooler. So there was a lot of, some people would say the piece was a cowboy with a tail. Or, the playwright Sam Shepard, who's a very important playwright in the United States, who wrote pieces like Fool for Love. He had a real sense of the West, and people would sometimes call it Sam Shepard with a tail, So that's what this piece is, that particular show.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
The next piece?
Well, let's see where we are. It's black now. I don't know where we are. This is a blackout. Some of these pieces, this is almost like a show of James's greatest hits.
Good.
For example, I mentioned earlier about the use of time and rhythm and simplicity. So here's a transition from the piece starts with the surrealism of mime, very physical.
Tilt it this way.
Yeah, performer. You can even see my hair is down to my shoulders. It's curly, wild rock and roll hair. So no white face. It starts with climbing a rope to nowhere, and it's like a cartoon there. It's what's it tied to, and he falls, and he makes a transition, which is very Beckett-like, Samuel Beckett-like, which we talked about. And then here's a piece called Acrobats. This is another signature piece that has an interesting backstory. This is a circus of hands. This piece appears in 1974 all the way to 2024 or 25. I thought somebody did it was probably 2024.
The name of it?
It's called Acrobats, and what it is a circus of hands with sound effects. And this was inspired by my work with Ringling Brothers Circus in the mid-70s, where I was the trainer of pantomime and physical conditioning for the new clown students who would be offered contracts to go into the circus. So if you've never been in the circus, you don't really understand what that world is like. So I remember I had a dream about the colors and the sounds and the absurdity of the circus. I got up in the morning, I went into the studio and I did this piece one time. It's about 5 or 6 minutes long. And it's basically just the hands being performers, and I use maybe a string for a tightrope. And then the conclusion is the performer leaping off the high level into the small barrel of water, which used to be, so it harkens kind of to the old circus of the 19th century, or the turn of the century. Which turn of the century are we talking about? We're talking about the 1800s into the or the early 1900s, where, or Houdini's years, where these people would chain themselves in a chest and be dropped to the bottom of the Hudson River, and then they had to escape and they'd appear. So the old circus was based on that. So this piece would just make people belly laugh, and I can't explain it. It still makes people laugh. It's people roll in the aisles, and I know when they're going to laugh. I know what time it's going to be, and I have my face covered, and it's like I wear a kind of mask with just a hole, where it looks a little bit like a terrorist with his mouth revealed, where this mouth is there. And I use the mouth as a springboard and so forth, but. It just makes people laugh, and that piece has persevered throughout decades.
How did you made sounds with your hands, and what type of sound did you?
Yeah, you would go, and so forth. And it's very ridiculous, and. Anyway, so this is what's happening here. And then this piece is called Desert Cafe, which is based on some Hank Williams music, and it's about a guy.
Do you have the music going while you're?
Yeah, there's some sound scores.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell
me about that piece.
And this piece is one I did. I was actually commissioned to perform it, or to choreograph it for some modern dancers once they saw it, because it's very physical. It's basically about somewhere lost in the Mojave Desert of California, like the gas station with one pump, and there's a cafe, and there's no street lights, and who lives there? Who works there? So it's a riff, a poetic riff on, I would say, the California desert, in terms of the people who might roam in that area. And it's...
And what were some of the people like, or what?
Well, it's more metaphor, it's more images. I mean, it's basically focused on a waiter or a cook in a small greasy spoon diner. And it's a reflection, it's a poem about, basically a poem, a visual poem about the brain of those people. You have to see it. See, that's the other challenge with this kind of work. If you have to see it to understand what it is. And if you use the wrong label, people will get a misconception. Like you could say, James is a mime, but if I do that piece, they'll have no conception of that's possible. And how do you explain it? Like I just tried to explain it, and it's difficult. You have to see it. It's almost like I always had an issue with art critics who write about paintings. Look at the painting. I mean, it's, or even, a food critic, writing in the newspaper. Like, how do you write about food? Taste it. You can say, oh, it's good. Maybe just say it's good, and then go try it, and then you'll really know what it's about. It's hard to describe. That's sort of the beauty of art. I mean, you are able to communicate feelings and thoughts that you're not able to do any other way. And so I keep telling actors when I direct something that speaking is only one small percentage of what we do in the 24 hours of a day. It's only one small percentage. Most of the time we are just here, being present, being physical. I mean, just because I'm sitting in a chair with my hands clapped doesn't mean I'm not moving. I'm present. So my work has always been involved with the marriage of movement and voice. Voice is a gesture, and gesture is a voice. They're both physical. They both use breath. They both communicate things. But the description of what you do through sentences or prose is difficult.
And one reason I ask you is we'll see the image of you doing it, but well, whatever you might say is kind of gravy for seeing it. But
Yeah.
Just the reason why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can't emphasize enough how others dictate what something is for their listeners or viewers. And people are pretty gullible. They'll tend to believe what they hear, but if they see something with their own eyes, they can make their own opinions. And the more complex our world gets, the more difficult it's going to be. I think right now, like American culture is having a real struggle with the current climate, socially and politically, in our country. It's interesting that the traditional arts never die. Like the performing arts will never die, even though we have all this technology to create AI and all this. But there's something about the human spirit and need to witness others emoting and morphing. We can use the word metamorphosis or transformation. When the human being transforms through their voice, through song, or they have some kind of object where they make this incredible audio sound like a musical instrument, or in this case of a mime, we're a physical theater artist where they can do something and you think that you're somewhere else, but all the person is using is their body and their imagination. And that's happening right in front of you. It's magical. And that's why the arts will never die. Never die. Because there's that human need for that. Some of the mime techniques, I always thought that they should be studied by scientists. Like, they're like extraterrestrial. Like you can take, if I use this energy, I've mentioned this before, if you can see a white line between your fingers, there might be a white line there. And then somehow there's energy happening up here that goes through your body into the air, and you're through the electrons or whatever of, the atoms of existence, something is being changed. So I think you can apply that to any art form, I mean, like your work as a filmographer. I mean, you take images, you have some tools, and you transform what's happening around you into this palette of truth. And it's very powerful because you can be untruthful or you can lie, and this gullible nature of humans will buy that too. So the arts are very powerful tools, incredibly powerful. Yeah. So anyway, that's what that show is.
By the way, what did you do with Bill Irwin?
He was a student of mine. In the mid-'70s, I was asked to go teach pantomime and some physical conditioning in the Ringling Brothers Clown College, they called it, which was a training ground for new clowns. And they would usually have about 50 students. It was only 3 months a year in the fall in Florida, at their winter quarters in Venice, Florida, and they would have this clown college. So a person who was interested in circus clowning would apply, and there was this long psychological application with questions like, do you like children? Some of them were, I'm going, what? Of course, what are they going to do? Like, are they going to say, no, I don't like children? Why would they hire somebody like that? Or when was the last time you laughed? Like very kind of whimsical, serious questions. So I was hired. I had been recommended. I was at this giant, the first international mime festival and institute in America, in the USA, and there were a lot of European artists there. That's another conversation. But I was recommended by the artistic director of this festival to the circus, and I was hired. So in the body of students, there were many talented people, one of which was Bill Irwin. So you had Bill Irwin, who had been theater trained and so forth, and then on the other end of the spectrum, you had somebody that was from a small gas station in the plains of Kansas and wanted to be a clown, but they had natural ability that someone thought. So you had this wide spectrum of individuals that you taught every day, and Bill Irwin was one of those people. And I actually witnessed him creating some of his iconic characters, you know, because he was developing too.
Like what character?
Well, he, after the circuit, he'd rejected a contract, which was a very dramatic event at that time, the way he did it. He created a character called Willie the Clown, which was in the famous Pickle Family Circus of San Francisco in the 70s. He actually was he and Jeff Hoyle and Larry Pizzoni were the first three clowns of the Pickle Family. So he created some of these characters he created for that first, it was one of the first circuses, if not the first circus in the United States that didn't have animals of any kind. That controversial, you know, point about whether we want to have animals on view. So a lot of that work started in clown college.
Okay.
Another clown was Barry Lubin, was the Big Apple Circus clown for decades, and he created some of his first characters in clown college. He was another student, people like that.
And what type of things would you teach them?
Well, you would teach here we're getting into a whole big subject here. So to me, the clown and the mime are the same thing. You just emphasize different tools sometimes. A good mime is a good clown is a good mime. So, and then first of all, we have to decide what the word clown means. So as I mentioned before, the clown is a kind of a consummate actor who can do anything, is allowed to do anything. It's not just a laugh machine, okay? So I would teach them how to transform. I'm going to talk really poetically and esoterically here. It's really about transforming space and time and bringing thoughts to the forefront through visual images. Sometimes audio too, if you think voice is a movement. So I would teach them the basics of how to inhabit a space and have people look at you, have people understand you, how people want to stay with you, how people, when they leave, they know something has happened that they will remember. So my job was to create that. So now you could say I did mime exercises, you know, I've mentioned this point in space, things like that. So I would do the techniques and craft of how to be there. So, which is interesting to me because here I am working as a mime in the circus, and then eventually I worked with Oscar winners in Hollywood, doing the same thing, teaching the same thing. So there's something universal about what I was imparting to people, to other performing artists.
I think we can move on now.
Yeah. Let's do another one?
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got up here.
Do you know the name of this file?
You have it.
Well,
You copied it.
okay.
This one we're looking at.
Oh, that's the thumb drive. But the file, are there different files on that thumb drive?
Here they are.
Okay. But
This is the one you copied, I think.
right, but I'm just saying, if I see it on the screen, if you say, well, this
It
is
says
file-
Truck Dog and Other Works.
Okay.
That's the one we were just looking at.
Gotcha.
Like, for example, this one says PM Magazine. Remember, there's a woman interviewing me.
Gotcha.
Here's one I just found today. I actually put in here. It's Fish from 2023. And I thought, you know, it might be interesting to show me doing Fish in 1980 and then doing it like 2 years ago, how it's different. You know, there might be a collage of, I don't know. I'm just saying that could be interesting. Fish is the other piece that I do, like acrobats. That's
Can you play it and tell me a little bit more about fish?
okay.
So it's going on the screen.
Like for example, in this file you have, the original fish is in. That's actually on my website from 1980. Is in that video, and then this video is 2 years ago. So you want me to talk about fish?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Play one.
I'll play this. You'll be able to see this one.
Is this the recent one or the?
This is a recent one.
Okay, go ahead.
So
Did you say you just added this file to the?
yeah, I just found that video. It's hanging out in some other obscure place.
Okay.
You don't have this one on your
Okay, so,
in your.
and what's the name of that thumb drive again? I'm sorry.
It's called Mime Video.
Okay, I'm gonna make a note, re-record.
I don't know if this is the best. I mean, there are other videos we haven't seen that have the same fish from like the last 5 years, under theater light
You
even.
can tell me about fish now.
So fish is probably my most signature piece throughout the decades. Originally, it was a 2-person piece created by Bob Francisconi and I in 1969. And we, as I have mentioned before, we both went to college at Cal Poly Humboldt, which it's called now, Humboldt State in those days, which is in the Redwoods, the lost coast of California. So we were surrounded by nature images. And to preclude that, I grew up in Southern California, and my father built boats, built marinas, and I was on the ocean a lot as a kid on the Channel Islands off of the coast of Southern California. So I remember in those times, which I've mentioned before, I would go fishing with my father with his friends, and I found myself more interested in what was happening to the fish rather than the ritual of catching the fish. So what I mean by that is I would go, wow, they bleed a lot. Oh, wow, they're shaking. Whoa, how do they feel? What? How do fish feel? Who thinks like that? Yeah, how do they feel? Is it hurt? Is there pain? And like most people would go like, fish, fish, fish. It's like, squawking a fly. But don't get me wrong, I'm not feeling pain for the fish, but I'm pondering this thing as a kid. So I have those images. And I also saw the power of the game fish, the fight they had in them, and how they could leap, and how they were muscular, and the kind of hypnosis they had over human beings who needed to catch the marlin, needed to catch the tuna. There was some kind of mythical power in the big game fish. Hemingway wrote his Old Man in the Sea piece, right? Short book. So, which I've always admired. And so I always thought that was a very powerful prose that Hemingway had written. And so putting all that together, my childhood, Old Man in the Sea, my first mime teacher was from Japan, which of course has a real connection to the ocean through its food and through its, its culture. And then the feelings about the fish. So in the beginning, Bob and I created this piece called Fish, just simply called Fish. So there was a fisherman and a large, probably a marlin type fish, a large creature, noble creature of the deep. And we simply created the battle through visual images that were very strong. And in the end, just like the Old Man in the Sea of Hemingway, the fish would break the line and disappear into the depths. And we would assume that the fish was dying, and there was a point. But then it would be regenerated. So it was basically about the battle of humans versus nature. Who wins? Nobody wins. If anything, nature wins, okay? Because in the end, the fish regenerates and spiritually enters our universe once more after this incredible battle. So this piece was very good with demonstrating the power and the the magic qualities of good mime technique, good illusionary mime technique. So we did it as a two-man piece. I was the fish and he was the fisherman. So when Bob decided he didn't want to tour anymore and he was getting interested in teaching full-time and so forth, and I was still performing, I said, well, I can, with his permission, I said, I can make this a solo piece, a one-person piece, which I did. So this would have been 1974. So you have video of that piece about that time. And then this video is me doing it 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So it's interesting to note that some of the moves I did in 1974, I can't do anymore. Certain physical things I just don't have the strength or the flexibility to do. But I've accommodated that. And some people say that the fish is more powerful now than it was back in my heyday of physicality. So I can only attribute that to the fact that older artists somehow learn how to economize and to economize and to economize until they come to the very essence of something. You know, you see that very often in older artists, whether it's a musician or whatever. They know how to economize. They know how to take away. The experienced veteran of the arts knows how to strip away all the things that aren't necessary very quickly, where a younger artist has to wade through all that.
Well, when you do it as a one-man show, some of the time you're the fisherman, some of the time...
No, well, okay, so this gets into... So my last show I did was called Mime Songs. And there's a video of that full show, which I haven't shown you. So it encompassed some classics like Acrobats and Fish, but also some new pieces. So the word song is key here because I always thought of a mime, I'll call it a concert, just like a dance performance used to be called a dance concert, which harkens to musical vocabulary, right? So, but it also could harken to chapters in a book or short stories in a book. So each piece I would call a song. I never did that early in my career, but later I said, these are songs. So whatever song means to someone, there's probably truth in that. A song is a poetic section of time and space that is emotional, and people fall down a deep hole into the realm of the song. So I always thought mime pieces were the same way. So it's a time and space hypnotic event. And each song in a longer concert is strategically placed based on its mood, its tempo. It's just like anything like that. Any piece of creativity has to understand the ebbs and flows of existence. If not, you have just a staccato, drone, which will put you to sleep. So an artist needs to understand the dynamics of the waking hour, let's call it, all right? Well, what keeps one waking? We don't want to put anybody to sleep. So this piece, Fish, is about 6-7 minutes long. So it's a song. And then it might be followed by Acrobats, which is another song. Each one has its own mood and its own interpretation. But they're strategically placed. Like you would, I would always think of a performance that's starting with something very mysterious or very up-tempo to get people's attention. Mysterious, where they would be drawn in, or very surprising, where it would wake you up this way, like a hand clap, right? And then you would structure something near the beginning that's a little humorous to get people feeling good. It's like a little injection of the drug, right? And then you would do something maybe that doesn't require thought, but just requires textural feelings in your mind and body. And then you would do something really funny. And then you would maybe do something really thoughtful, maybe 2/3 of the way through. But you had to be careful, because if that thoughtful thing got people too much into their heads, you'd lose the performance. So then you had to end with something either really up-tempo or something that's hypnotic again, that draws people in. So it's literally like a music concert or a good book, you know, how the chapters unfold. It's the same thing, the same thing. You're just doing it in 3 dimensions, you know, through different elements. Yeah. So Fish was usually in the first third of the performance because it really kind of introduced people to the hypnotic magic of the mime performer, or to the, well, I'll say the theater event, because I always thought it was theater and it wasn't just mime.
What else?
So we're talking about Fish.
Point it a little more towards me.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's frozen right now a bit.
Okay.
So the other thing about Fish is it's very cinematic, meaning that, which I've talked about before, is it's very cinematic, meaning that you become a master of focus. Like, where is the viewpoint? You master a viewpoint. Like, where do you want the audience to look? Where do you want them to see, and what do you want them to think they hear at a certain time? I mean, any artist does that. If you're a director of a play, you have to be concerned with the same thing. So this piece is just a body in an open space. There's a sound score I use now because humans don't have the same attention spans that they did like 40, 50 years ago. So it's sort of a ritual or a tribute to the art of the performer. You are a single person on the stage with nothing around you, no props, maybe a strategically placed light or two, and you create this ambience that's hopefully incredibly powerful. And it just demonstrates, to me, it demonstrates the magical powers that humans have. I mean, that's what the arts do, right? The arts create this sense of, wow, where did that come from? Where did that voice come from? Where did that movement come from? Why am I thinking about this right now? Why am I crying? Why am I, you know, so it's the ultimate kind of flexibility and transformation of the human spirit. It's almost like life and death. It's like when you die, supposedly your energy is transformed, whatever you believe. I mean, even if you believe in religion, you're going to go to heaven. You go somewhere else, right? So scientifically, energy converts itself to other forms of energy. So I think that's one of the things that really attracted me to the art of mime and to theater, is that you transform and you evolve into this force, literally, of nature and the universe, right in one spot, right in front of an audience. So, and that's magical. So which leads me to believe that maybe I am an alien. Because that's pretty powerful stuff.
Did you have some thoughts you told me about aliens when you were young?
Yeah, I'm adopted at 2 weeks, they tell me. And I have a good memory because I can remember when I opened my one eye in the green institutional hospital, looking at my prospective parents. My father was wearing a brown suit and my mother had a big smile. And I remember telling them what I remember, and they say that's exactly how it was. So, but something happened in the first 2 weeks. So since the time I've been adopted, I've met my birth mother. I had a relationship with her. I'm in my 60s. I didn't find her until I was in my 60s. Another story. But I was born on the day, supposedly, that they found the alien in Roswell, New Mexico, that, you know, that the government's hidden away. So I always thought, especially when I always thought I was a little different. And I always was looking at things. So I always thought that maybe I was from another planet, and which is not uncommon for kids, especially if you think differently than the norm. Because I was always really observing things, and I was very creative with transforming through my imagination time and space, just in the sense of play. I was pretty advanced. I had a pretty advanced notion of play. For example, in those days in the 50s, you had toy figures, right? You had cowboys and Indians and soldiers and knights and pirates. and you had no video games. So I would create these very complex, dramatic events with my toy figures. But what really set me apart from others is I'd never play with other kids because I didn't feel they had the real sense of what happened. So for example, if a figure fell off a cliff, it had to be in relative time to the miniature scale of the environment. In other words, I'd never just go blah and knock them off. I'd always go ah, and then when they hit the ground, they'd have to bounce, right? Just it's an advanced not understanding particularly, but an advanced notion of the physical world, what happened there. So I was always doing that. Or if I was playing with soldiers under this table, the legs of the table would become especially you had chairs, it would become the forest. You know, like this was the forest with the stout trees, or it was the pillars of the temple, or whatever it was, right? I was always able to do that in my head. And for me, other kids just didn't have the range, we'll call it the range of the imagination. So when I think about that, it's what I was doing back then in the 1955 was making theater art, basically, in miniature, like almost like models of what I would put on stage later. So I thought I was getting back to June 29th, 1947. That's when the spacecraft crashed in New Mexico, and they found this alien creature, and he's still to this day, or she is hidden, or it is hidden somewhere in the chambers, the vaults of the government and so forth. So I always felt that maybe there were more of us, and that I had been placed as a small embryo here to explore. Because I tell you, I can do things with energy, or could, I'm kind of out of my prime now, that no one else could do. And I can't explain it. It's easy for me. I can't, sure you train and through observation, you make things better and you hone your craft, but there's something I can do in that range with energy that few people can do. And I don't know how useful it is, but I always thought that, scientists gotta study this stuff, because some of the videos and some of the reaction I've got from people is like, it can be mind-boggling. And I remember when I first saw other artists doing those techniques, my mind was boggled. Like, whoa, I can see that stuff. So maybe that was part of it, that I was able to hook into their energy and make it more than it was.
So you don't play with action figures still, but now you play with trains?
Model trains, yeah.
Could you segue into that briefly about them?
Yeah, I've always had a fascination for trains. So, of course, I grew up with a vista in front of our house here of the Southern Pacific Railroad crossing the strawberry fields from LA to San Francisco. And that panorama has always been in my imagination. In fact, when I was 4, when I moved to this location, that's when they still had steam engines. And I swear to God, I can remember at the age 4, steam coming up above the walnut trees from the tracks down here. White, I never thought of it then. And when I was a little bit older, in elementary school, my friends and I would roam the orchards here, and we would go to the tracks. And I would just sit there and wait for trains. And they'd rumble by, and it was a romantic feeling for me. Like, where are they going? Who's in the train? Wow, the power of that engine. The rhythm of the clack, clack, clack. Because rails in those days were not uniform. I mean, they weren't unified. Like now they put long, welded together rails. And back then they were jointed. So that's where you got the classic clack, 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 because they were crossing from one section to another. Now it's all one continuous, smooth metal strip.
So your hobby of trains?
So my hobby of trains came from not only these dramatic recreations of toy figures, but the train became a symbol of graceful, I'll call it graceful transformation of terrain. In other words, like a cut through a mountain of a railroad track is very beautiful to me. Like you have this, like a mountain, uneven earth form, and then you have this smooth, line of energy that's created on a grade or not through the elements. And to me, that's a piece of art. So I've always had this fascination for trains. So just about everywhere I've been since my high school days is I've had a model train set up in my private residence. And now I have two, because I have one in Oregon and one in California. But it's a hobby that is very eclectic, meaning that you have to be an engineer, you have to be an electrician, you have to be a carpenter, and you have to be a designer. And storyteller, that's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can move on.
Yeah.
Pause tape.
One more thing on this video, I think. On this thumb drive. We didn't talk about
And what's the name of the file?
NCS. This is the one that you copied, Mime Video.
Right, and the individual file that you're about to play?
It's called NCSA Promo. This is another, so Truck Dog and Other Works would be good to look at, because that's me in my prime,
Okay.
where I have a whole collection of work that's pretty representative of the palette of what I do. This other one is similar, but it's earlier. It's like 1980. This is about 10 years. It says 82. So this was I actually edited this together through different videos that I have. It's a compilation of stuff. I use this as a I was using this as one of those promotional tools. I edited it in the UC Santa Barbara media place. They let you go in and. So this one has acrobatics, it has clowning, it has masks, it has comedy, it has lecture demonstration. It's a good example of different things. So mask work has been very important. Also circus techniques. Here I am juggling 5 apples in a performance, which is part of another show we'll talk about later called All Our Clowns. So this is something that, if you look at this, you'll get a good overview of James in the 80s, early 80s. And it's called NCSA, which means North Carolina School of the Arts. So this was a lecture dam before professional drama students in North Carolina School of the Arts, which was the first state-supported arts conservatory in the United States. It's a world-class theater, dance, and design and music school in the state of North Carolina. And a lot of famous people, students have come out of this place. So I was a faculty member there for several years. And at the time I was about 30 years old, 31, 32, and it was a time where I really chronicled and developed my curriculum for teaching movement to actors. That's where I really put my teeth into it here. So this is a lecture dam that was videoed there after I had left there a couple of years after. Here's an example of the acrobats. See so I'm making crazy sound effects at the same time. I don't know, maybe it's probably in here you can see the this is here right before here here, go back 10 seconds. 10 seconds. This is where the hand, okay. It's going to jump off and land in the. Did you ever see this? Like in Santa Ynez? I might have done this in that one of those shows, but I can't remember.
Well, I didn't see any Santa Ynez.
All right. That Jeff would have given to you? Yeah. Anyway, that's an example. People just laugh their heads off of that. I have no idea why. So this video is, like I say, is Like here's elements from the early fish. There's a real cross section. This is a character called Commodore Egerton. It was a retired admiral who was kind of arrogant. And there's audience participation and so forth. This is a excerpt from a clown play I did in the early 80s called All Our Clowns, which there's another full video of this show.
Tell me about all the clowns.
Yeah, I think we should wait till we get to that video, right?
Sure.
A lot of mask work. I'm just saying, if you look at this, you'll see the scope of things, and then you can see other videos that are more detailed on the particular thing.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Anyway, this is a classic piece with a mask. This is a sight gag. This is a good example of what I was explaining with, you want to hook them with some laughter near the beginning. So this is a mask that has a motorcycle helmet as a base and celastic, which is like an old toxic form of paper mache or plaster cloth. You can pour water into the mask, which creates a gravity through tubing, and then as I pull the caps on the eyedroppers that are connected to the tubes, water is going to come out like a fountain. It's really simple. It's hard to see the water. There's another video in here. Oh, that's another shot. But there's water doing this. So that thing lasts about 2 minutes. And people love that thing. So that's an example of something you do right at the beginning of a show. And I brought it out of the mothballs last year I was a producer for the second year in a row or the artistic director of the LA, Los Angeles Mime Festival. And I found this, I hadn't brought this mask out in 30 years, and it's actually sitting in a box in there, kind of a homemade travel trunk. And I did it. The spacing wasn't quite what I wanted, but I brought it out, and it was hard for me to pour the water in. I missed myself a few times. I wasn't quite as accurate, but.
Can you play something while I ask a question?
Just play anything?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to ask you, what, if anything, do you want to happen to your old props and your work and your legacy?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I have about 50 masks. Large percentage of them I made myself. That's a good question because
what's the question?
What do I want my legacy to do? What I want to do with my old props? I don't really think about that too much. I think there are probably people that I've been close to that have been my proteges or my students that would want some of that stuff. But if you don't feel the magic, I'm not sure what you would do with it. What I mean by that is, you can put a mask on your wall, but my masks are not decorative masks. They're masks made to transform on the stage, which is a different kind of art form. They're not really meant for the wall, even though some of them look great on the wall. But
do you have a need for your legacy to go on?
Well, that's a complex question. I think human beings by nature forget really quickly. And there's always somebody that will take your place. And then the further you go after your death, the information about you becomes even more obscure and vague. Like, did we really know who George Washington was, or Napoleon Bonaparte, or Jesus of Nazareth, or did we really know who those people were?
Or or a guy that said hi to Jesus, they're lost forever.
Yeah, right. I mean, somebody chooses to pinpoint a personality, and then they kind of stay around for a while, or the forces of society are because of this person's activities. So I don't, in terms of art, I think art is, I've talked all about transformation and molecules changing, and I think it's more a sense of it's more like nourishment, like I nourished a lot of people either through performance or through teaching, and they're gonna be not hungry so much in the future, but they're not gonna remember every meal, and that's good enough for me, if you understand what I mean.
Well, when you recently had heart surgery, did you have any thoughts that are maybe you not being around forever?
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally in that realm now. I mean, for a while now, I've thought, I have this term called the departure lounge. You know, as you go to the airport, and if you're a member of the club, you get to go to the buffet and eat, and you're waiting for your flight, right? Or maybe it's just the waiting room for any transportation, company. So I feel like I've entered the departure lounge. So my flight has not been called, or I'm not even sure it's been scheduled yet. And if it has, they haven't announced it yet. And I am in this departure lounge, so I can kind of read a book, eat some food, talk to somebody, maybe go outside the departure lounge, but the flight will leave, but I don't know when. So I know I'm in that realm right now. And I didn't think like that 5 years ago. I recently made a show with Joe Romano, who's one person you should definitely interview. He's a gifted, retired, big-time jazz trumpet player. That's my age. He's 1 year older than me. Amazing guy. We recently created a show where he plays live music. I perform some of my techniques, and he's also a very fine painter, and I interpret his paintings through movement, and he accompanies with his jazz trumpet. So we called the piece Departure Lounge, because people my age are kind of in that realm right now. So I do think about it. So my heart surgery, I'll show you the video that I took by the window there the day before the surgery. It's on my phone. It's a few comments, but the heart surgery really brought home to me, there's two things in your being, maybe more, but your brain and your heart are the kind of the center of your being, regardless of what kind of physical body you have. The heart is the energy to operate. The brain is the energy to continue, and the heart is the pump, right? It's the center of the physicality of you. It keeps you going, where the brain gives you choices of where you want to go. So those two things are central to just being alive. So when your heart's going to be stopped for maybe an hour or two while they have it in the shop and they're giving it, a tune-up, that's pretty powerful thing. So it also makes you think, well, what if your heart doesn't start again? I mean, I've been thinking recently about okay, when death comes, am I just gonna, it's like anesthesia. You just you're gone, but you're not gonna wake up to remember what it was like before. It's it's totally, I can't understand it. We'll have to be there, right? So there's all these stories about people who have died and come back, and they see the light in the tunnel and all that. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's probably not as painful as we think, given all the drugs we have today. If you're ill, or otherwise, it just happens. I don't feel too good, and then you're just gone. So. I don't know. I don't think about it too much. Okay. I'm not afraid of it, but I'm unsettled by it a little bit, that it has come so quickly. I mean, your life, it's true. Life goes by very quickly. Very quickly. I think the better memory you have, the more quickly it will go. Or the deeper your imagination is, I think the more quickly your life goes, because you when you're creative, you're able to put moving pieces together in different arrangements, which means you have seen and felt those pieces in order to fit them in the matrix. So there's a lot of resonance in the creative mind because of all these examinations of the facets of how to be, you know.
Shall we move on?
Sure. This is a crazy part. This is very crazy.
Which piece?
This is a piece called Desert Cafe, which I've talked about before.
What's going on here?
This is me jump roping and singing a silly song about pancakes, which represents the mind of this kind of the delirium of working in a sparse, location with no customers, working in a restaurant. So, yeah, let's get out of this for now. Anyway, that's kind of that thing. I'm gonna show some others we didn't look at. Let me eject this. Okay. So you wrote down here. Are you hungry?
Not really.
All right.
But I could stop it.
Here's the other thing. I have lots of photos from through the whole. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, you can go really deep in this if you wanted to, but
Well,
I mean,
and I know there's the website.
there's a lot of stills. There's others though I found that aren't on the website, but I think you'll find what you need on the website. I think. Let's see here. There's one piece, I just found a video today, it's called Coach. It's a clown piece, interactive with kids. Wait, before we do that, let me show you. Here's a video that I think has some good footage on it that you might use.
Okay, let's see. So the
Yeah.
drive you had in, have we exhausted that?
This one's exhausted.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it, I'm gonna put it right
I'm
there.
gonna copy it one more time.
Yeah, because I think you did copy that one.
Yeah, but you said you added to it. So,
Well, I just put one in there, which is, not outstanding particularly, but. Okay, so what do we got here? Payaso has Circo. What's this one? Hawk has Circo del Corazon. Where's all their clowns? That's in.
what is the one, well,
Yeah?
I was gonna ask you what's the file that wasn't on my video before, but.
It's just that little one, the one that says Fish, 2023.
Yeah, okay, just that.
That's just the current. But I think there's other videos of that time period, of that piece that might be better quality. So I don't. All her clowns. Where's all her clowns? Let me look in here.
Okay, tell me when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to eat that apple pretty soon. Where's that apple? I had brought an apple in here. Oh, there it is. Yeah. I'm kind of hungry. Let's see. Here, let's go back to this. You want to hear why I'm thinking of it?
And copy. Oh,
God, everybody's contacting me today. What the hell is that about?
so tell me what you're looking at on your phone.
I'm looking at a short video, a selfie video I did the day before my triple bypass open heart surgery, and the comments I had philosophically about this event in my life. Yeah.
Okay, so that's okay. And I can send those to me if you.
Yeah, here.
You also cut your hair.
Yeah, here, let me just show you this for a minute, just so you see what.
Actually, just.
Well, this is, for example, there's that, and then I ended up, that's the beginning, right? Well, actually, the beginning is what I look like in here with all the long hair, and I ended up going to that's the hair at my feet. But, like, I did 2 of those just because that's all the hair that I cut off. And then this is what I look like when I was going to go into cert, like, fuck you,
Okay, I'm going to send those.
So you can take as many of those as you want. Yeah. But these are the selfie videos, right? Those with a green. So I just did about 3 takes because I added.
I'm doing the still photos too. That's some good stuff there.
There's another few photos in there of me playing with my hair that's pretty wild. That's an older phone, so I hope you can do it.
Airdrop. Contacts only, everyone for 10 minutes. Okay, there it is. There you are. Okay, I'm getting these now.
Did you get all the interviews? Yeah.
Yeah, I got all of them. They're copied now.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I have that now.
Yeah, you got it.
I like your clowning with the puffs of hair.
I know. Here's a
You can actually just point it towards the camera here.
Yeah. Like, I was gonna. Where's those? I just wanted to show you briefly this other. There's a lot of photos on here in my train too.
Oh.
I mean, if that instead of having to go in there, but
Are they videos of it?
there are some videos.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's good to know. Videos of the train.
Yeah. I'm trying to find this one. Where is it? They're down here. There's also stuff like this. This is a model I made of the church. So we were talking about, designing shit. So here, where is that? It's up here pretty soon. Oh, yeah. Oh, here. Here's the. Look, would you know that's me? That's another, look when I was cutting my hair. I don't know.
That's good.
Where are we?
Okay, let's maybe the next video.
Yeah. I was going to go into here. Where is video?
Tell me the name of the file that you're going to click on.
By the way, this is a picture of my first mime teacher in his prime. That's a pretty striking picture.
Who's the teacher?
His name is Yas Hakashima. He was the one that introduced me to the art of mime.
And this is on the black external hard drive.
No, it's on here. But I can put it into
I have
another file.
I have everything on the black external hard drive.
Everything?
I copied.
The whole thing?
Oh, no, I just copied videos, just the folder.
Oh, okay. This one's not in videos.
Okay.
I can put it in there if you want me to.
Well, it's good to know that. Anything else on?
Are you I thought you copied just the thumb drive of videos.
No, well, I believe I did copy this. And I think I just copied, is there a video? Oh, there's special videos.
No, I think you copied, did you copy this thing?
I think I did, but I may
Because
not.
we looked, because the ones we looked at are not in this. They're in the thumb drive. They're in,
Okay, so we're in the black external hard drive now.
where is that one? Actually, wait a minute.
Okay, well, I have
I'm
three over here.
I'm confused now. Oh, you took 3
Yeah.
out of there?
But why don't we finish this?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I have them all here.
I'm done copying all.
Yeah, it's on the ones we, where's the top for that? Oh, here it is. I'm just going to do this for now. This is the ones, last week we looked at all the ones on this.
Right. So I've copied these 3.
Oh, okay.
And so we're on the black external hard drive. Your teacher was, okay, is the name of that was, oh, no.
I don't know where it went.
Okay.
No, it's here. Here's my
We're
teacher.
on the black external hard drive.
You want me to, you copied this last time? You copied this?
Yeah, that folder, video.
Yeah, but that's not the, we didn't look at many of these last time. I think you copied the one over there.
Well, okay, well, maybe.
Unless you did this and you didn't look, we didn't look at it.
Let's look at whatever you want to look
Yeah,
at.
let me put, you want me to put this into
No,
there?
I'm going to copy this whole thing again. If it's
You don't
anything
mean all
If
this.
it's anything other than the videos folder,
No, it's all, this is it.
is that,
That's the videos
okay,
folder.
this is the videos. So you can show me stuff now here, but I have it copied.
This one, all right,
Videos, yeah.
all right. Because the ones we looked at, I talked about, are in that one, last week. Did you copy, you are gonna copy it?
I've copied all 3 of those
Oh, okay.
today. But you could leave them there for now.
Yeah.
so I know I copied.
What's in this? Oh, this is the Sandy Inez workshop. That's something Jeff sent me. I don't know what this is. Orange. Oh,
And maybe we'll get back to you.
you don't want the orange. There's nothing in the orange one,
Okay.
really.
Okay.
It says Festival of Fools warm up. Oh, what's in there is me getting ready for a performance at Libero Theater in Santa Barbara. That's what's on the orange one.
Gotcha.
On top of the big
So
ladder.
I still want to get back to talking about the Sandy Nick's workshop stuff you did. And you talking about all the clowns, but we're now on the black external hard drive.
Right. And the video.
And the video.
This has a lot of stuff we didn't talk about. That's really
Let's talk
important.
about it.
Okay, let me just,
And tell me which one you're going to click on.
yeah. What's this? Let me just look at this a minute. Videos. Wow. That's the, these are videos of classwork. What? 2011. What is this? Oh, this is interesting. Some of this I haven't looked at yet. This is my studio in San Francisco. Yeah, okay. Anyway,
Tell me what you're clicking on.
yeah, I'm just trying to get organized here. This is a good one too, from Italy.
Okay, let's get to that.
But
So we're on the black external hard drive.
all right.
What else should we look at?
Okay, I'm trying to. Okay, Mime Clown. This is ones we haven't.
And if you click on it, say the name of it.
Okay, let's start with
Well,
this
we're in mime/clown.
right here.
Okay,
Which
we're
is-
in
which is-
mime/clown.
This is all Mime Clown videos.
This is all from videos, just the videos. Folder.
That's it. And then
Okay.
there's a sub.
Okay, now we're clicking on mime clown videos. Okay.
And here's a. I'm doing this sort of chronological. This is a piece called All Our Clowns.
Is this mime clown videos? Yeah.
There's 2 acts here. Okay? This is a clown play called All Our Clowns, which was, it has a nice sound score too, but this piece was performed in,
Turn it towards me a little.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a good shots in here of, well, this is actually the way I opened my shows in the 80s and 70s, this piece here. So it's a guy that has no face, and he does a lot of athletic movement. And throughout the piece, he eventually finds different masks, and he tries them on, like searching for identity. And then here's the point where he's going to reveal his actual face. Boom. So this was shot with no audience. It was just shot in a sound studio. This is James in 1982. And then what happens is, see, the one thing that's interesting about the work is sometimes it's like painters do this. So I had periods of different themes, and I would take sections from things I liked and make a new piece. So you would have a kind of a scope of work that was similar but evolving. So I think all artists do that, most likely.
Hold on 1 second, I'm just grabbing a focus.
Like this.
Oh, 1 second, I'm focusing. Okay, you were saying?
I was saying that I would take certain songs, we'll call them, not literal songs, but as I explained, my works can be like thought of as a song. I would take different elements of my work and I would make a new show. It would be like taking the building blocks of this, taking a building block from there and one from here and one from there, and then make a new combination, a new structure. So I think a lot of artists do that, whether you're a musician or a painter or a sculptor or whatever. You get in these realms where you've learned something or you've developed something you like, and then you use elements of it to help build a new structure. And through time, then that slowly changes into new worlds. So this show is kind of my first leap from pure mime into mime clown, we'll call it. And so other techniques are introduced, like, let's see here. Oh, this is Act 1. This is so let me go to Act 2. So this ends with me in a costume. It starts with a pure movement and ends with me as a developed character through finding different props and elements of costume. And then it gets into more tool.
Tell me what you click on when you click.
Okay, this is All Our Clowns Act 1.
Okay.
Now I'm going to click on All Our Clowns Act 2,
Okay.
which is the same show, but it's the evolution of how the show goes. So in this one, you'll see me riding a unicycle. The character has evolved. This was created in the like 1980 maybe, where I'm starting to explore more props. See, he'll come riding out in a minute on a unicycle with voluminous carrots coming out of my pocket like that. So I was always interested in circus props or clown props like a unicycle or acrobatics or musical instruments, but I was always interested in a context, a dramatic context, which set me apart from a lot of clowns. Many clowns would do acts where they would choose a skill and they would exhibit that skill, okay? So what I was interested in is, like, the unicycle is transportation, not the cool thing that I can ride a unicycle. So it was used as a dramatic gesture rather than a skill in itself. Like a backflip, which happens in a lot of these videos, it's like maybe I take a pill and it makes me do a backflip. It's not just, oh, look, I can do a backflip, that kind of thing. So that was a little different for its time. Nowadays, nowadays that's something entirely different. But I was sort of doing this before many people were, like making dramatic structures based on clowns and circus skills rather than just being able to do a circus skill and make people laugh. So there's a lot of being able to take a prop and create transformation. Like in this piece, there's a lot of juggling. Okay, so I was using it as a discovery gesture of a dramatic character, and then at one point he gets hungry, and this is an interesting section, using real apples, and first of all he discovers how to juggle, and then he gets hungry, and then through different skills he focuses on how to eat one of these things. Okay, so for example, let's see here. Like here's he'll squash some of them, but let me see, here's a sequence where it's all about being hungry and wanting to eat, and then using different skills to implement that dramatic need. So let's go a little further here. You'll see, this is a cool sequence where I'm juggling steak forks. He's going to stab one out of the air, like right now, and then he's going to throw that up, and it's going to land on the other fork, like you'll see, boom, and then I'm going to balance it on my chin, and he'll catch it in a big spoon, like that's in my pocket, like this. Boink. And then I try to eat it, and the other predicaments, like how do I solve these problems? So in this show, he creates a beautiful sculpture of he needs companionship. So all he's had so far is this mannequin with one of the masks I made. And then he builds this creation with clay, and there's also a musical score for this, for example, just quickly. And the music was composed by a guy who was good in creating commercial sounds that people remembered. So he created a theme song for this piece, not this section, but that's very memorable, that people end up whistling after they leave the theater. But, whoops, screwed that up. Where are we? Pushed the wrong button. This piece, All Our Clowns, was kind of a transformative, was a revelation for me. Because I started looking at theater in a different way, and then clowning in a different way, through character development and moods that weren't necessarily amusing, but could be dark, could be poetic. And I performed this in Europe and in Mexico and across the United States for a period of time in the 80s.
What's the name of it?
All Our Clowns, which is sort of my philosophy. Everyone's a clown, you just have to, like I say, a clown activity is deeper than just laughing and amusement. It's about being present and the absurdity of life, how it affects your existence. That's clowning. And the clown even gets drunk in this thing. He starts riding his unicycle like a drunk driver. It would be interesting to do this piece now. Last time I did this was probably almost 40 years ago. Maybe 35 years ago was when I was doing this piece a lot. And I was young. Now he's getting drunk. And then he starts riding this crazy unicycle like a drunk guy. Oop. It's right about
Angle it a little more towards yourself, actually, not to me. Yeah,
right there. I can't, it's reflective. I can't even see it.
Oh, okay, well, do whatever you need to.
Yeah, yeah. Here, oh yeah, he gets on. He's drinking and then he just like, wild, man. I'm a drunk unicycle driver. And so what was I saying?
Do you have the unicycle still?
Not, yeah, in the storage. I can't ride one anymore. The interesting thing about a unicycle is I had to learn how to get my huevos out of the way of the seat. This is one thing that people don't realize about riding a unicycle. You got to kind of pull your package to a different area, or else your nuts will be squashed through the seat and your weight. You can't lift off a unicycle like you can a bicycle, right? So when you mount a unicycle, I had to always shift my package to get my in the right place, so it would work. What was I going to say though? I was saying something important. I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot. I'm sure it'll come back at some point. This is a musical exploration with just 3 horns that are in tune to each other, which never was set up to be like that. I just found the arrangement. And there's an eccentric dance here using just 3 horns with tones and so forth. God, I wish I could remember what I was going to say about the clown work. I can't. What else? This piece is very rhythmic. It's very, the rhythms of action are very present to keep the interest of the audience. You know, if things get like this, it's like or like this, it's hypnosis, and audiences will just tune out or literally fall asleep. So you're trying to do things that change, you know. And it's interesting in the Zoom world, in our modern world, during the pandemic where I would teach on Zoom, I started using the screen as a space, which is not new to cinematographers, but I would do entrances and exits and shift, and we'd even do lessons on how to use, you know, you have a stage space, but then on Zoom you have the screen space, and you can use it just as creatively as you can on stage. And some of the relationships are really interesting of how you can create depth of field and entering and exiting the frame, and things like that.
Who were you teaching during the pandemic?
Students from around the world. You know, they would tune in at a certain time. You know, sometimes I have 25 people in the little boxes, sometimes 4 people. So I did that for a period of time during the pandemic.
Oh, was that fun teaching us?
Not really, because it was the human contact is very important. You know, like I said earlier, that it's an art that I really respect, the art that's in front of you, and this is one of those arts. This is why it's challenged, because the world is moving more toward media and video and images through a machine. So the art form that I practice that's not its strength. It is in terms of sight image. Let's say, I was going to say sight gags, but they're not gags, but just quick, you know, like the world of, you know, quick hitters. It can work well there. There's some illusionary things you can do that are really interesting and fun and very powerful, but it's hard to tell stories unless you, without changing the art form. So I'm kind of a purist in the sense that you need an empty space in 3 dimensions, and the human body is there for the witnesses, right? It's a different dynamic. I think part of the dynamic is that there's always the chance that something will go wrong. There's always a chance that there'll be a mistake. There's always a chance that you might drop dead, which has happened in my career. One of my students dropped dead on the stage in Santa Barbara. You know, so not that you think about stuff like that, but I guess what we're talking about is life is right there and anything can happen. So that's dramatic in its own sense, and people watch.
So is Zoom different than live performance that way, or is it the same? That
No,
anything can go wrong?
no, because you can edit it, later. Like video, the relationship between video and the work is very complex. In other words, most videographers don't know how to shoot physical theater because they'll be concerned with the classic headshots or waist on up. But the thing about this art form is you need full body and face at the same time. And that's hard to get in video technique, You need close-ups and you need to keep, the reason you have close-ups and wide shots is the things I've been talking about. It's to break up the monotonous rhythm of things, of the changing forms of reality. So usually and other minds will tell you the same thing. In our careers, you had to almost like educate the videographer of what you needed. You need 2 or 3 cameras to be edited later to give the real truth of the moment. And then it got difficult because video artists are so skilled that they can, through editing and other ways, they can make something look however they want it to look like. So they can make you look a lot better than you are, or they can not do you justice and make you a lot more horrible than you are. So it's very challenging because, like I've seen enough video that I'm kind of educated what to look for, but I can tell immediately, usually how if someone is worth my time or not because of the skill of the video camera, but the skill I can pick up the skill of the art, what they're really doing, as opposed to how they're being embellished or strengthened by the shots, So, like in today's world, you have when you apply to go to be in a theater festival or to do something, usually you submit video. So the more skilled you are with the art of video and then knowing how to adapt yourself to that form, the better off you'll be. But we all know if you just put a camera up and just point it at the stage, it's going to be the most boring thing you ever saw. But that's pretty much what the audience is doing in a life. They're just sitting in one place. So your skill, your ability to manipulate focus and timing is difficult to see in a video because the video artist is doing it for you very often. So only through lots of experience and knowing what to look for can you kind of weed through that. So. Yeah, what do we have here? So that's all our clowns. I wish I could remember what I was going to say about it. This.
What are you clicking on?
I will tell you. This little video. This is James Donlon Mime, NBP, okay. Newbury Park. Why is it? Yeah. This was a little lecture demonstration I did for. It's actually on YouTube, I think. Some of it. See, there's Alina. In her beautiful self when she's younger. So I did
Turn it a little bit towards me. Right there.
I did a sort of demonstration for kids. They're sitting on, some of them are sitting on the stage. And there's some very good stuff here. I have to get a drink. There's some good technical demonstration and some good improvisation in this. So I would encourage you to look at that one. It's called.
I think you just said.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the,
The black external hard.
One thing we haven't talked about is the relationship with the audience. We haven't really talked about that. So. A theater event does not happen without an audience. Otherwise, it's therapy or play. But if you have an audience, then you have a theater art. So one thing about the clown and mime art is they're interchangeable, is that you must be aware of the audience at all times. And then you can either confront them literally, you can break the fourth wall, or you can appear to be an illusion and a magical image, withdrawn from them in some vacuum somewhere. So the best performers can do both. They can know when to enter without intimidating, unless that's your purpose, the audience, or violating the audience, unless that's your purpose, or being a dreamlike image that's removed and totally secure and separate from the audience. So when you perform as a mime or a clown, you learn the art of how to shift between those two worlds. So I enjoy doing both. I think overriding all of this is the dramatic purpose of what you're doing. So there are many examples in my work where I'm working with the audience. In some ways, it can be a crutch, because audiences really enjoy watching their own members being played with by a performer very often. So it's an easy way not easy, but it's a effective way to be successful in a performance.
Well, I'm not sure I got that.
Yeah.
To use audience members?
Yeah, it's part of the action at different times. But like a stand-up comedian, that's what they do. They don't get up, they usually don't touch the people, or get them up on stage, but they talk to the audience and they respond to the audience. So that's a good example of that, breaking the fourth wall, and how effective it can be. I mean, that art is based on that relationship. So in this video, there's some really nice interactions with technical things with kids. Let's see here. Yeah, like there's some good things in here that are, there's lots of videos actually in this archive that have this kind of thing going on.
Do kids react differently than adults?
No, everybody reacts the same. That's interesting.
And could you say kids and adults all?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes adults think too much, so they'll, in that case, meaning that they'll try to be clever. In that case, you just let them do what they do, and very often they'll make a fool of themselves, and you come out on top. You learn very quickly who to pick, and who, by looking in their face, and feeling their energy, like who's not a good one. You learn very quickly that if this person is not going to play with you, you get them off the stage in one way or another. And you learn very quickly how to make them comfortable. Like one of the techniques I would always use in your classic performer being, as part of the performance, is I would learn to touch them on their back with a gentle hand while something else is happening in front. Like if I was a certain character, I would divorce this energy from this energy, and this would be like a calming effect. I would touch them, and they would feel more secure with a comfortable assisting hand on their back, while outwardly there's something much more dramatic happening. Another thing you can do is you can just whisper to them. The audience won't hear it. I mean, that's a real common thing with clowns, is you say things to them. Like there's one video in here that we haven't talked about where the guy's an easel holding my drawing pad, and I'll say, "Stay there, don't move." Nobody else hears that, but they hear it, and also that calms them, because you give them the sense that you're working together and we're buddies, and we're going to create something really fun for all of us and the audience. So I perform for children's audiences, I perform for adult audience, I perform for senior citizens, all kinds of audiences. And that the art of using the audience as part of the performance is very effective, but it can be overdone. Like some performers today, that's all they do. So for me personally, that kind of limits I mean, I like probing the unknown. So if you're always doing something that you know is going to be effective, that's not interesting to me. Like one of the patterns I have in my life is I'll do something well, I'll build something, train for something, or develop something, and then I'll do it, and then I'll leave it alone and start something else. So that's not good sometimes when what you've developed can be used to affect something else. And I'll just say, okay, I've done that. I'm going to now start over again. You know, it's like building a beautiful house and not wanting to live in it. Just go start building another house. So whatever that philosophically means, but I have a tendency to do that, you know. Like the creation is the spice of it all, and the actual accomplishment is not that interesting, as interesting to me. Where are we here? Okay. Let me see another one. These I think Jeff gave you.
When you click on one, tell me the file name.
Yeah, I think Clown San Ynez High School, he might have given you those.
We could look at it briefly.
Yeah, here's one. This is one where does this ring a bell, that introduction? I didn't do that, he did it. This is one where I did a lecture demonstration for high school students. And there's some, it really gives an example. This one's called, here, let me see what it's called. It's called Clown, SYHS 12 Minutes.
Okay.
And this actually is a good example of how you can totally capture an audience. Like they make sounds of amazement that is really unusual. Like I'll do a technique and they're going, whoa, look at that. I mean, it's like there's some illusion thing. Let me see where they are here. Especially with the oh, I don't think it's in this one. Oh, but they do, here, let me find the other one. They do respond in that one. Here's one, this one's just,
What do you click on?
this one's Clown CYHS, San Ynez High School,
Okay.
2006. I think that's the one where they're amazed by all this energy stuff I've been talking about. Like, what, am I from another planet? Some of that's happening here, and people are going. So I don't know if Jeff gave you these already, but they're in here. Let's see. So let me see here. And all this stuff is, I don't know. That's Acrobat. Where are we here? Maybe it's down here. Maybe this isn't it. I don't know. I thought the red ball was in here. I wonder if you saw this. Didn't you come up to San Ynez High School once with Tara a long time ago?
Well, we saw a performance. What did we see?
It was, I don't know if it was this one. I think it was a different one. I'm trying to find where well, there's me on the ladder. I mean, there's some good shots in here of the dimensions of things. Let's see here. Look, I'm going to end up standing on that ladder. I'm trying to find where the ball is. I don't know. I thought it was in this one, but maybe not. I don't know. Let's see what else is here. Here's Piper's Voyage. This is
It's called what?
Piper's Voyage.
Okay.
This is a children's show that's in a kind of an old video in quality, but it's a show I did for kids in Mexico and the United States, and it uses the combination of masks and circus movements and mime and yeah. So it's a story I wrote about young human who plays a recorder, the musical flute, and he has a pet bird who gets blown away and he has to go find it. So he ends up in this amazing world with pirates and giants and all kinds of things. So there's circus techniques in it with juggling. There's magic. There's a place where I take a pill and I do a backflip. This year would have been early 80s. There's juggling. There's language. There's really heavy duty mime technique like climbing a mountain or there's a cool image of an eagle type bird. Let's see where it is here. So in this piece in particular, I have to play a giant, a human eating giant, and myself. I have to go back and forth with this dialogue. So that gets to the point again of you can transform, which is interesting to
when
me.
you're going from one thing to the other, do you move to a different part of the space to let the audience know you're the other character? Or?
Yeah, there's different ways to do it. You can do it in one spot just by changing posture, or you can take one step to a new space that represents somebody else. You don't have to go, like in this one, there's a giant sitting in a big throne, and then he's asking me to do tricks. And one of them is, you must I'll eat you if you don't turn a circle in the air. So that's where he has a magic glove that he puts on and it makes him do a flip. He turns the circle in the air. So there's a lot of illusions like that, or dialogues. It's very exhausting. Doing a performance like this is like doing a whole basketball game, but even more exhausting because you're using your brain in a different way. A lot of times in a sporting event like basketball, which I played a lot, you don't have to think quite so complexly. But in this show, there's lots of variables mentally, emotional. Like in sports, you're supposed to take emotion out of it or pinpoint it into one thing, like attack or focus. When you're playing a basketball game, it's not so multidimensional emotionally. But in a performance like this, you have to be aware of all kinds of things, like where you are, how you're feeling, what your body's doing, getting feedback from the audience in terms of navigation, like knowing where you are in relation to their eyes or their ears, all these things that and what comes next, all these precise things you have to be aware of, where in a sporting event, it's more vague. And it's simplistic in a way, not less intelligent, just more simplified, which is not necessarily less intelligent. Like I always took issue with when people would say, "Oh, athletes are stupid." No, they're not. They're just working on a different level, to a very high level. They've been able to make relationships in time and space in a very advanced way, which you can't. Okay, so it's just a different world. It has nothing to do with lack of intelligence. They just don't have to use a certain part of their brain, but they have to be really elevated in that part of their brain, So in this kind of performance, you have to use more parts. I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm just saying you use more parts. It's more multitasking in a lot of ways. Where a lot of times in sports, it's more you develop instinct and feelings. You don't have to think about a particular thing at a particular time. You try to reach the zone, which they're in the zone. The player's in the zone. That means where you don't think and you just react. Or in theater, you have to find the zone, but you also have to find the strategy within that too, with more moving parts. Even though in sports too, you have to find the strategy. You have to know what you're working for, but it's just a different heightened awareness, different ways of applying that. So it'd be hard for someone to understand that unless you've done both. A lot of times athletes don't do performance and performers don't do athletics. So I was lucky that I could do both, so. Anyway, so this piece was translated into Spanish, which is fun for me to perform in another language because language becomes a movement, or like Shakespeare, language becomes choreography, vocal choreography. Like you're not used to using those structures of language, but you learn the language like a dance, but the emotion and the intention is all the same. Just that you have different muscles you use, and it's like learning a dance in a way, and then it can be fun. Or if you look at it as a physical exercise, it's even more fun to play Shakespeare because you find a common place of reference that applies to language and body. That's why, I'm pretty sure that's why Shakespeare has existed for all these centuries, not only because the themes are universal, but the immersion of the language and body is something that is cathartic for a human, and you don't forget that connection. And it's very interesting, why we still watch Shakespeare. I have a feeling that some of these things are becoming elusive now, which could be good, or not good, but just happens throughout history. We don't use clubs anymore. We use, our tools have changed. So the tools of communication are changing. And I have no idea where it's going to lead to, but I think humans, by nature, most of them are kind of lazy, and they try to find shortcuts to do things. So that will lead us to, I shouldn't say lazy, they're looking for shortcuts. They're looking for, how do I get this more quickly and more easily so I can spend leisure time being lazy, So I think that affects the arts too. I'm not so sure that in the future we'll have to work as hard. There's good things in that and not so good things. I think if you don't work as hard, you lose some of your survival techniques, like GPS. Some people can't live without it, but most of my life and your life has been spent looking at maps and asking for directions, and we did fine. Now we can do things more quickly through GPS, but also our sense of navigation though is not as, I don't think it's as acute. Nobody knows how to look at tracks anymore or read the signs of a path. We don't really need to do that anymore. But at one time, you've had to do that. If I'm going to walk to the grocery store, I want to make sure there's not a bear over there, so I look for the signs. But we don't worry about that anymore. We insulate ourselves from danger more easily. So.
Another video?
Yeah. Let's see. Here's a video in Mexico. It's rough, but it's an interesting experience here about the magic of performing.
What's the name of it? The file?
It's called Puebla Mex,
Okay.
MEX, period. I'm performing in a festival. Is it going to play? Should play. Whoop, there it comes. So this is an international audience, a Spanish-speaking audience.
Put a little more towards me, right there.
This is me in a big courtyard, almost like an open-air performance with a stage. There's people on a balcony behind me looking down. So you learn that.
What year is this about?
Oh, this is somewhere in the late 90s, probably.
Okay. What's the name of the piece?
It's the full performance.
Well, whatever.
It's James Donlon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Geez, Don.
But I'm just saying, there's some improvisation here. There's some mime technique. But the magic of performing for another audience is that you learn about how the world is so similar and yet so different. That human beings are the same everywhere, but their approach to their environment can differ a little bit, but their souls are very similar everywhere. And so only a performing artist can really, or a salesman maybe, can understand that, you know. It's unfortunate, yeah.
How might they have been acting, how might they be different, or reacting in any way in Mexico?
How was I different?
Yeah,
It wasn't different.
it wasn't different.
No.
So
No, you mean
people are the
you mean
same.
in terms of the environment or in terms of the process of the performance?
I was asking were the audience any different?
The audiences tend to be more curious in Mexico, and they're more patient, and they react more freely. I think that because we have so many diversions here, and also we're given so much information about danger and pleasure that we are overloaded with reality. And when you have less baggage, you tend to look at things with different eyes, I think, you know? So, I mean, I think of a garden, right? If you have profuse flowers everywhere and color and trees, it's different than if you had one flower pot in your house. I mean, that's why people put plants in their house, right? I think they can focus on particulars rather than kind of a world that hits you in the face. So when you perform in Mexico, because their existence is not as easy as it is here, for the most part. You know, USA has such a high level of ease in terms of functioning that each moment is a little more vivid for people in a country like Mexico than it is here. It's not, they can't just go around the corner and find something else so quickly. That's beyond the basics, you know, I found that in most other countries, the audiences are more curious than here. And some of it has to do that because our technology is so profuse here. This live element I've been talking about with the performer on stage doesn't happen as much here as it does in other countries. People in other countries are still watching live theater and still aware of other cultures. Like, because our country is so big and it's so insulated by its media that we tend to forget that the next county, to us, the next county would speak another language. Where in Europe, or in many other countries where they have different languages and dialects within the same country, like you can imagine the number of dialects and languages in India, for example, and different, I mean, it'd be like Santa Barbara would speak a different language than we do, you know, which happens in Mexico too, all the Indian dialects, so the indigenous dialects. So,
Anything more about this performance?
no, it's just interesting that I think I learned the most about myself while I traveled as a performing artist. Not only how to survive, but also to give me perspective on where I came from. The things I like about where I came from, the things I think are not right about where I came from. It really gives you perspective, not only as an artist in your craft, but, you know, in other aspects of living, you know. And you see the power of art. Art plays everywhere if it's well done, you know.
Okay.
There's another couple of videos on this thing that are interesting. Zany and Surreal. This is a video, this is called Zany and Surreal. This is a performance of 3 artists, one of which was a Cirque du Soleil clown that performed before millions of people in his career. His name is John Gilkey. He actually lives in L.A. He had very famous pieces in Cirque du Soleil. This is Leonard Pitt, who's a noted physical theater artist in the Bay Area. This is me. So at the beginning, when this was a gala performance. What I mean by that is I opened a studio, a teaching studio of physical theater in San Francisco for the second time in my life in 2009 in San Francisco. And one of our opening events was this performance on the edge of the Tenderloin in a theater in downtown San Francisco. And the three of us, it was like great bands coming together to perform, you know, a concert. So we each did our greatest hits. And it was a very effective performance. It could have toured, but I'm always thinking of things like that, but one guy didn't think it could do it. The other guy was injured and didn't want to put energy into it and kind of fizzled the idea. But this is a good example of experienced artists understanding each other and putting a performance together with not much prior rehearsal.
Were you playing off of each other?
In the beginning we did, and then we did, like, here's me doing Fish again. I did acrobats. I did another clown piece. But most of the time we did solos. But just mixing and matching the pieces together. It would be like a singers, you know, coming together and singing songs on the program that they're known for, you know. Let's see here.
Maybe one more, then we'll break for something to eat.
Yeah, let's see. What do I want to do here? Oh, this is probably the one with
What's this called?
the one I just showed you.
Oh, the one you're doing now?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I'm looking there. What happened? This is one with Alina called Final Circo, which means there's some new stuff in this and some derivative stuff. I mean, I'm trying to find this one starts, this performance starts very interestingly. It's I'm birthed.
You're birthed?
Yeah, and there's some world-class percussion artists on the stage with us. Here, like Alina, I get born underneath this dress. Where is it? That's right. Let's see where it comes. Oh, let's go back a little further.
You don't necessarily have to go there because I could find it.
Yeah. This is, there's one, we use this dress at a time. I used it before. There's a show that I haven't talked about. Maybe when we come back from lunch. It's called Purge. I think it's one of the best things I did with 3 women, where I'm born underneath this dress naked. And I evolve, and the whole piece is about how men have controlled women, and women need to find their power. But yeah, let's go eat. I'm getting tired here.
Okay, sure. So
But this is got some of the classics, got some new pieces called Growing Up. There's some clown pieces. There's some stuff that doesn't work so well. There's some interaction there's one piece in here called, where is it? It's called Desert Cafe with 2 people. Like I had the solo Desert Cafe, and then I had one with Alina that was pretty effective. I don't know where it is right now, but I'm just trying to find it.
maybe when we come back.
We'll do that.
Alina.
I just want to find it first of all,
Okay.
that I'm in the right place. What's this? Some of the stuff in here I don't like. Where is that piece? Must be in the first half. Let's see. I'll be able to find it.
It's her with the dress.
No, there's a piece we do together. It's funny. I think you've seen it. This one. This is the Desert Cafe with her. And I'm a pilot that comes down, and we end up flying, and I end up crashing. I mean, it's a crazy story. Anyway,
Well, why why don't we just pause it there?
I will.
Space bar.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, let's take a break. I'm starting to... I'm starting to burn out on my own life. Should I keep this on for
Yeah,
now?
you can keep it on.
Yeah. Ay, ay, ay.
Let's see, well,
I'm trying to think of, there's some other things I wanted to show you on here, but, oh, the Italy, anyway, we'll talk about it later. I'm kind of,
okay, what's this video called?
Final Circo, C-I-R-C-O.
And this is on the black external hard drives.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you have there?
This is a show Alina and I did together. So then again, this is like mime songs. Like I would do some of my other pieces, and then we'd also do some things together.
You and Alina?
Yeah. Actually, I don't want to talk about this right now. Let me.
I'll make a note and get back to it. And what would I note? Alina?
Just Circo.
C-I-R-C-O?
Yeah. What's this? Matcha.
And if you want me to eject the hawk, then we can.
Well, let me find some other stuff first.
Okay.
Let me see what this is. There's another shot of Circo. This is pretty good quality video, but I don't know about the background. Anyway, I wanted to see this. So this is
What's this called?
this is MimeWorks. So this is a video of a performance I did at Westmont, but it's a show I would do in different places, and it's around 2005 maybe, or early 2000s. And it's also, there's, in this video, it says MimeWorks right here. Okay?
In the folder it's in, is it MimeWorks?
It's in Mime Clown Videos, MimeWorks, Mime Clown Videos in the videos.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do that. There's just a lot of stuff here I'm trying to wait. Like, I definitely want to, there's just a lot of stuff. So, this is a show that's actually on the internet now, but I think it's owned by UCSB. I don't know how much you could use of it, but, I mean, what would that mean? Would you have to get permission or something? I don't know, so. Like, for example, it's on the internet, UCSB Presents. It's a good video of pieces, but there's a good couple of clown pieces in here that's good. Where are they? I don't know what, I mean, I've sort of talked about philosophy, but I don't know what you want to add. Like, this is just audience interaction. These videos are pretty successful in terms of capturing what I would do with an audience member. Here's a piece called Growing Up that's about, this is something I could talk about. So I created a piece called Growing Up. So when I was a kid, I used to roam the valleys out here in the orchards. And one day, well, I grew up in a hunting family. Like, my dad was an expert marksman and a sport fisherman. He could catch anything in the ocean and he could kill anything out of the air. He was just a sniper. And he grew up in the generations when he grew up in this county and he lived on a ranch, so he learned about guns and hunting. And so when I was a little kid, he would take me hunting with him. So I was introduced to guns. So I had a BB gun at a really early age, which is, an air gun. So this tree right out here was a little sapling at one point, and my bedroom was this room here. So one day I saw a hummingbird in the tree. So I got my BB gun. It wasn't a hummingbird, it was another kind of bird. It was bigger than a hummingbird, I think. It was just sitting in the tree. So I got my BB gun out, I stuck it out the window, and I shot it, and I killed the bird. It dropped out of the tree. And I remember I got really sad about that, and I buried the bird in the garden in a shoebox. And since that time, I never shot guns again or killed animals. I just was a little bit like, I was always thinking about how they felt, like the fish that I was mentioning. So later, decades later, I wrote this piece called Growing Up, based on this experience. So the piece is very physical. It has sound effects and language also. And it starts with me recreating this event. It starts with me playing with my soldiers and my toy figures and people dying in slow motion, off the cliff and all that. And then I see a bird, nice day, shoot the bird dies, I get sad, I take it into the valley. So this is a story based on what happened, but I changed the actions. So in the mime, I take it into the valley, the bird, and I end up burying it in the field somewhere. And then my mother calls me, Jimmy, because in those old days, before cell phones and all that, my mother, if I was out playing down there somewhere, she would just yell out dinner from up here, and you could hear it all across the area. So I recreate that, and I'm coming, Mom, and I start running back. And as I'm running, I start transforming into an adult. And so before that, I was burying the bird, and there's a lot of remorse and sadness about human life being lost, or animal life, or creature life. And I come back running, and I start evolving through a running motion. It's very physical, yeah, it's almost like running a race. And then I fly, like become the bird again, and then I enter a spiritual realm. And when I land, here you can't really explain it other than you have to see it. So I enter a spiritual land, and I say at the very end, I'm home, Mom, like an adult. So it's about a rite of passage event or transformation as a young person into a more adult person, given personally. So that piece was very successful resonated with audiences. Yeah. Do you know David Goodall?
No.
Todd Gillespie? They used to work at UCSB in video guys. All right, so there's that piece, which has MimeWorks. Here's actually I edited some of the best parts together in. This one's called MimeWorks Highlights. The show is called Menagerie, which is actually the name of our first mime company back in the 70s. Menagerie meaning a collection of animals or creatures, or an exotic collection, so that's what we called our show. We were and our company, the Menagerie Mime Theater. So this is actually a highlights, which kind of highlights, and it has there's no credit to UCSB here, so you might be able to use some of that. I just went in and edited the other one together and made this of the best moments. Like this, here's a good shot of this mask, and so forth. Acrobats, clown work, whatever. But I don't know. Okay, let me see what else is on here. There's a couple of other things. Here.
At some point, if you want to pick it up another time, that's okay.
What's that?
If you get tired.
Yeah, I'm starting to get tired. Maybe another half hour.
Okay.
Let's go to it. I think I've pretty much explored this Here's all Circo de Tu Corazon, which we began to talk about. So,
What was the name of it?
Circo, it's Spanish.
Oh, right.
It's called Final Circo, CIRCO.
Okay.
And there's some eccentric stuff in here that's pretty, like this one, you can hear an example of, whoop. This is like a newborn, whatever it is.
Input towards me a little.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I'm using pantyhose to create these images of it's like umbilical cords or something. So in this show, I actually play this. So I have a world-class trumpet player.
Turn off the music.
I have a world-class trumpet player and a world-class percussionist on stage with me. And they contribute background music, and I also interact with them during this show, like with certain elements. But that was pretty interesting. I also play the saxophone. Well, here's a piece called, what's it called? Tomorrow is Today. It's kind of a futuristic riff on the lonely worker in his apartment being dismissed from work, which is boring and monotonous. He goes to his apartment. He eats antiseptic food out of a container. His pet is a robot. He doesn't know what to do with himself, so he watches television. There's some satire on today's television, like with war and love and sex and this and that. It's physical with vocal qualities. And then he's tempted to use drugs, so this pill comes down, this pill thing, and he takes pills which affect him, and eventually he breaks out of his compartment and his body disintegrates in very graphic ways. His eyes pop out, his rib cage opens, he ends up eating his own brain, and at the very end he says to the audience, "Hell, hell, help me." That's the end. It's very strong theme, but when his body is destroyed, which is coming up somewhere around in here, let's see what happens. Anyway, I don't.
What happened?
Like his eyes come out, boom, whop, there, different things happen. You know, his rib cage opens up. In the end, he has to like take his brain out, which is really interesting. He just had heart surgery, but his heart starts beating quickly and it explodes. Like an atom bomb. And he ends up in a deformed post-apocalyptic pose. And that's when he goes, "Hell, hell, help me." That's the story. So this piece appears in some other videos that you might watch. There might be a better version of it.
And what does it mean, or what's it about?
It's that today's world is, people are not being creative with they're losing their vision of what to do with themselves. The technology and the antiseptic quality of present day life is taking away the textures and the beauty of nature and community and so forth. And if you're not careful, you'll destroy yourself through artificial means. And literally in this piece, his body through other, substance abuse, his body is destroyed in his mind in graphic ways, ending with him eating his own brain. And then his heart explodes out of his chest, and he's left a mess. So I would perform that sometimes you would like this piece, I think, knowing you. So I would perform this sometimes for high school audiences, and I'd always ask them after, well, what do you think that means? What is this about? And they would always have the right answer, like close to what my original objective was.
Cool.
Yeah.
I made a student film in high school where I ate part of my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. There's one video in here, the one of the Zanian Surreal, where I do that piece. And you can hear the audience, somebody in the audience going, "Oh my God," or "Wow," like whispering. They're close to the camera somewhere. So like there's this silence and like a person goes, "Wow."
That's great. I'll look for that.
This is Alina performing in Desert Cafe, the two-person version. So I've had different companies over the years. I'll show you some video in the future of this piece called La Purga, which means purge in Spanish. But I enjoy working with groups, and I'll enjoy working alone. So I've done both. Each has its advantages. Of course, when you're performing alone, you don't have to answer to anybody, and you can set your own schedule and use your own aesthetic. And when you're in a group, you have to. The advantage of the group is everybody can offer ideas. You sift through it. The disadvantage of it is life gets in the way, and some people their schedules can't meet your schedule, and their vision doesn't meet your vision, and their needs don't meet your needs, and you dissolve, so.
How is it working with Elena?
Well, this is the second time in my life I've worked with a significant other or a partner. Like when I was married to my modern dancer wife, we created some very exciting pieces together occasionally. And then, so Lena was my second adventure in that. And I have a friend, a couple who are really good mimes, some of the best in the world, and they are a husband and wife team. They live in LA. I think hopefully you can talk to them. They make a contract among themselves about how they need to work, because when you're working with a significant other, your life as a couple can weed its way into your life as artistic professionals, and it can be distracting and unruly if you don't put some kind of control over what you're doing, So it's a little bit like a contract. How do we work together? How do we throw it out the window when we're done for the day, and not let that get involved in our other life? It's hard. It's really hard to do. But on the other hand, because you know the other person so well, the synergy of creation and performance is like no other. You're like one organism out there performing. And it's almost, I think for a performing artist, it's almost like the culmination of what a relationship should be. Like here you are with another part of you that's naturally your second half, or your first half, depending on what day it is.
Well, what do you like about what Alina can bring to the table?
Alina is a free spirit who is incredibly physical and incredibly spontaneous and has no fear. So that's what you want in a partner on the stage. Somebody that does not shrink from any challenge, someone that's active, somebody that reacts in the moment, and somebody that values your presence. For the most part. We all know what being married is like, for the most part. And you speak the same language very often. And if you do have an argument or a conflict, you can usually resolve it, or you probably wouldn't be a couple to begin with, so, yeah.
Okay.
So here we are kissing each other at the end of this piece, and a real kiss. Anyway. Let's move on. I think I'm done with this video. With this, I can go to one of these others.
If you're done with that external hard drive, maybe this is the time to take a break.
Yeah, we could. I think one more session would kind of get us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little burned out.
Okay, no problem.
Let me.
And you need to take any notes to yourself to what you want to go over next time?
I was starting to do that. Let me see what you have over there. It'll come back to. I know that I had put the thumb drives in a different place, so you have most of them over there. Let's see here. Let's see if there's anything in here else.
Do you need this one?
Oh, this one I need. Let me make a list here.
Make a list.
Wrench purge. Oh yeah, wrench is important. Did you guys come to see the piece in the with the car? Does that ring a bell? Yeah, that's wrench.
Okay.
That was originally done in Santa Barbara, but that's an interesting story. Wrench, purge, and truck dog. Oh, then there's these, the pedagogy. There's actually a lot of these. Pedagogy, what else? So this is in videos. Hard drive. And you just gave me San Ynez workshop. That's Zoom. What is this? Orange one is photos, I think. Payaso. What was in Payaso? Hawk. You have one called Hawk? No, you just gave it back to me.
Hawk is there.
This is Italy, man. What's in this one here? Let's see. What's going on here? How come there's no sound? Oh, there we go. This is a good quality video here. Let me see what this.
Talk about that briefly. So,
Well, it's a lot of the same pieces, but I'm older.
and which file is this? This is.
Well, let me find. This is called Mime Songs Italy. There's also, they took this LA Mime Festival, that we had a videographer that recorded the whole thing. And he made a nice trailer of me teaching and performing. His name's Gideon, but there is a whole bunch of video of me just from last year. That's good quality. I mean, it's like modern, state of the art.
Do you have that? Or?
I don't have it, but he has it. I know where it is. I have a trailer, but I can't, for some reason it doesn't open on my computer anymore. Alina has it, but all I'm saying is they made a nice trailer for me, and it's based on, they shot a whole workshop and they shot the performances I did. Like pieces, not a full performance.
So maybe I'll get that some later point.
Yeah. I wrote it down on my list that's where it is.
Okay. And do you need to make any?
Wait a minute, that was in that. Let me just. I'm starting to fade. Let me look on this. Yeah, Gideon. Also, Mike Diaz has this, that's the pedagogy. I think I noted that. There's a whole bunch of, you remember the video we did of UCSB in the 80s? You saw that?
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of that from 5 years ago at my studio of me teaching, like just a different era, you know. That's then, this is now. There's a bunch of that. I could go through that and try to weed some of it out before we meet again,
Okay.
I think. But let me...
So make any notes to yourself. What you
yeah, I'm doing that. Ranch, purge, truck dog. What else? Anything else in here? Let's see. Oh, let me look again here. I think that was special videos. What was that? Oh. So here's PBS, where I directed. They let me direct, and I also did storyboards. Here's Zoo Food. It was a. This is me working this puppet. It's a full-length feature, how to feed animals at the zoo. I'm the operator of the puppet, which cost $5,000. So this was made in the early, well, probably, I don't remember, when is it? It's either the 90s or, but there's some interesting, like, for example, so I operated the head, the mouth, and the right arm.
Oh, uh-huh.
And my friend Matt, we were both together. He would operate the left arm. So I had to go like, I did this and did things like, and he would do this one. So this puppet was very expensive, and we found ourselves in very strange locations like that. Like here, we're actually under, this is in the actual zoo kitchen. This is a character called Grandpa Nature. Grandfather or grandpa, I don't know, we'd have to look at it. But I'm actually in the trash barrel in the zoo kitchen where they throw scraps. That's where we had to sit with our hands up through the hole under the counter. And another time in this, we had to drive a golf cart. Like, well, you can take my word for it. We had to drive a golf cart. I had to actually drive it with a puppet for real. And then you have a monitor that's in reverse, because the monitor was showing you what it looked like from here, but it was in reverse. So if you do this, that means it's going to go over there in the monitor, right? I mean, if you did this, it's going to be opposite. So we used the monitor as a guide sometime, but it was, and then the voice was Jonathan Winters, and which was recorded. So I had to figure out how to operate the vocal use of the jaw based on his tempo and his language. And it's the same, like there's one scene in here where we're actually cooking real hamburger in the kitchen with a puppet, like flipping burgers and stuff. So it was pretty challenging. And we got paid pretty well. But there was another scene where it was in a place like this, it was the lion cage. And the lions weren't in the cage, but we got to go into to shoot the scene. And then we walked behind the cage where the public don't see, and there's a bunch of holding cages. And I remember this lion was in there, and I was walking down this really narrow corridor. So there's cages here with a real lion right there, right on the other side of the bars. There's this corridor, and there's a doorway down there to the open air exhibit area, right? So I got this big puppet. It's about this tall, sitting here, and I'm walking down, and I look, and the lion is just there going, you know, just ready to pounce, but behind bars. But it was just kind of unsettling. Yeah, yeah, really funny.
Did you get Jonathan?
Yeah, well, I had a relationship with him briefly.
You got his permission for the audio?
Oh yeah, he knew he was hired to be the audio.
Oh, I see.
I mean, you can hear the sample of it there. But so I met him, downtown, and we went to Joe's, you know, that Italian restaurant on State Street. I think it's still there.
Yeah.
It's a classic old place. So he was wearing his Cleveland Indians retro baseball uniform. Just the two of us. And this is kind of off the record, baby. I mean, but it's like if there was one person, like the waiter, as an audience, he would go off, like Robin Williams. And most of his humor was really racy, you know, like not stuff you'd see on network TV. And then I got to go to his mansion in Montecito, and to talk about the project and whatnot. And he took me a tour of his house. He lived there with his wife, who kind of handled him. And he took me into this room. Did I tell you this story before? He took me into this room, and he was a collector of old tin plate toys. And they were on shelves from the floor to the ceiling in this room, all the way around the room. And in the middle of the room was a bed. So we're looking at these old toys. He was going to give me one as a memento, which he did eventually. He gave me a little puppet stage, that little Punch and Judy stage that you could operate from England or someplace from 1890 or whatever. But so he says, I gotta go to the restroom. So he leaves, and I'm sitting there in the room by myself. I'm looking at the bed, I'm looking at the shelves, and then I look down, I see a pair of slippers right at the side of the bed, like somebody that's flipping out of bed and putting the slippers on, you know? And I started thinking, I wonder if he sleeps here. I never found the true answer, but I suspect that this was a place he just liked to be, you know, surrounded by his toys. So his language was really quick and really complex, because if you remember Jonathan Winters, he was a rapid talker. He was like the Robin Williams before Robin Williams, you know. In fact, people make that connection that Jonathan Winters is the godfather of the style of Robin Williams, right? So it was really, if you look at this video, because I'm not a professional puppeteer, and the only reason I could do this is I was a professional mime, and I remember I had to audition. Somebody approached me, and they said, could you do this role? And I said, yeah, well, you have to audition with this puppet master in LA, where they make the puppet and then the guy operates. So I remember went down to LA, and they had me do some exercises in the mirror with my hand and stuff. And they were pretty simple for me as a mime. You know, I could do them and be creative with it. And so I got the job really easily. But in the video, you can see, because I had to symbolize the movement of the mouth for Jonathan Winters' voice, and it was all recorded, so I kind of knew what was going to happen, but he talked so rapidly, and I wasn't accustomed to working with a puppet normally, so I had to learn on the job how to mouth accurately, and you can't, your hand doesn't move like your mouth does, so you have to edit movements and just capture the essence of the language that fits the actual words that you hear. So as you go through the video, you can see I get better. As each scene, I'm a little better. Until at the end, it looks like seamless. I mean, it's still pretty good in the beginning, but I can see a progression of how I got better at that. Yeah, it was really interesting.
Well, shall we call it quits?
Yeah, let me just write down what I need to, so there's that.